This one's personal. All right. I'm speaking to the 80% of black men out there that had rap aspirations at some point. Joey Badass was really the only rapper that I ever felt a type of way about. And their rapping ability, I think I've been overly critical of Joey Badass in the past because Joey Badass is my age. He's literally like a couple months younger than me, right? And he's been in the game since I was like 16. You know what I mean? So there's an interesting relationship, I think, with like wanting to rap and, you know, seeing somebody who was young and really trying to be lyrical and putting out music. And I always had respect for him. Rap better than him for sure, but always had respect for him. And
Controversial.
And this project, I get to say that, man. I'm a podcaster. That's the whole point. I'm out the game. I'm retired. That's if nothing else, I get to make ridiculous statements like that. But no cap, this is a really dope project. It's one of my favorites from Joey Badass. Hats off to him. I think this shows maturity and growth from a project that was already really, really, really fire in 1999. So this is like a moment. I just appreciate it. I love good hip hop, and this is that to me. And I love bringing these conversations to you. What did you think?
Very much in the same way, man. I just like to thank Joey Badass for making this album. And I don't come through and say that often about music, but I just like to thank this man for making this album, man. You know, it at its essence, it's a love letter to his best friend, Capital Steez. It really does touch on the loss of Capital Steez, who took his life. We took his life in 2012, shortly after Joey Badass had dropped 1999. Within that same period, when 1999 did drop, Joey did come onto the scene as this was in the time of Purple Swag. This was in the time of music making a bit of a shift back into the New York scene, but through the ASAP lens, through the Flatbush Zombie lens, through there was a bubbling noise within New York, right? And prior to that ASAP scene, it was very West Coast driven music. We're busy dancing a lot of it. So Joey 1999 came as a fresh breath of air, with this very classical New York sounding hip hop that hadn't been heard in a very long time. 1999 really leaned quite heavily on the traditional hip hop boom bap sound that people know hip hop for. So being that young and being able to encompass so much what they'd call an old soul was an impressive feature that made Joey Badass stand out among his contemporaries. So songs like Illuminati, Survival Tactics, all those things coming out of 1999 was extremely impressive and gave people that feeling of old school New York. He continued that going on to Badass in 2015, which was really dope too. But people kind of started feeling like Joey Badass lost a step. Especially when he went into that All American Badass, which was a commercial success, but people like, man, he's becoming too commercial. He's becoming too commercial. So after dropping American Badass in 2017, we saw Joey Badass now venture into all sorts of other media expressions, particularly acting. Going into the acting sphere, and we didn't really hear back from Joey Badass for a while. So to come through and drop 2000 as a direct continuation of the standout album 1999, it said a lot off the rip about what Joey is trying to say with this album. So 2000 comes in and it's like, okay, this is the continuation of what many feel is your best work. What's going to happen here? How are you going to continue with it? And if you're looking at what growth looks like, but still keeping tight towards what made you popular amongst your core fans, and what confidence in hip hop likes, and what it looks like to execute on a continuation after 10 years, it says a lot, man. It says a lot. I think this particular album right here is one of Joey's best work, man. It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, it's standout is the word, right? Stand out and standing on your own too, right? Joey is somebody who's been in the game as long as some of the rappers that um we really like think of as the voices of this generation, right? Like Joey was coming out around the same time as Kendrick, maybe even a little bit before that Kendrick really blew up mainstream. And so it's really interesting. And I want to circle back to this conversation about his peers and who are his peers and what conversations he's in. But I just want to really commend this brother for like really just being himself, right? He never so many trends since his first album, right? So many different types of music, so many phases of hip hop, and Joey has remained himself. He's remained New York throughout the entire duration. I like what you said about All American Badass, and it was kind of a more commercially aimed album, but I still felt like even in that he was trying to bring his ability to that arena and his style to that arena. It doesn't always work. Artists swinging for that commercial fence is often some of my least favorite projects, but it shows that he hasn't. I don't know, man. Like when you say that people felt like he lost a step, I never felt like he lost a step. I just felt like he was trying something different. And when you got the longevity that he has, I think that's really commendable. Shout out to his acting gigs too. I dug Raising Cain in season 3. That was fire. Like or not even season 3. It's like Power, Book of Canaan, season 1. And I'm already saying too much about a show about power, but that particular series was fire, and Joey did a good job in that. Um, so yeah, man, 2000. Some of my favorite tracks. I love the way he opened this album. The Baddest, Make Me Feel Where I Belong. Some dope stuff. Cool to see West Side on it. But then Zip Codes. I love how he showed Zip Codes One of Us with Larry June. Fire. I like with Welcome Back and Show Me, kind of the more romantic tracks. He kind of did a fun one and then showed like a more mature side of his romantic song making ability. Like Survivor's Guilt gets deep into what you were saying, man, about the loss of a homie, the loss of a friend, and I think we can all relate to that. There's so much here, man. It's deep, and he really delivered. Which brings me back to what I was saying, bro. We've had a few conversations now, especially with the recent releases, West Side Boogie. We've thrown a few names around. Who are Joey's peers, and does Joey belong in that fight for who the next generation's best rapper is?
That's up to him. That's up to him. And if if we look at the break that he took from 2017 to putting this out and the significant difference in the type of style that he comes out with, between his last offering to this one, definitely you could put him in contention with that. The honesty is there, the vulnerability is there, the skill set is there, the intentional arrangement of music is there. Jumping straight into that first track by leading with Diddy, what that's saying is I'm making a statement. Like, this is a New York album. I'm gonna get New York's heavy hitter. I'm gonna get one of the bosses of New York to sign off on this first track. I'm gonna talk my shit, and then going into where I belong. I belong right here, and this is where he says Kendrick, Cole, and Joey. That's where he puts himself. But I like the other contemporaries that you've put around him, which is your West Side Boogies, which is your Jid, who he features on this album. Anytime somebody features Jid, it says one thing and one thing only: I'm here to rap. I'm here to rap. That's all I'm here to do. Not my favorite song off the album. However, it still doesn't take away from the value and the statement that it makes. If you don't want to rap, you're not gonna put Jid on your album. I don't care what type of beat you're trying to put on, because Jid's gonna rap. Jid's gonna Jid. You know what I'm saying? So his contemporaries, I would have to say Chance the Rapper. The interesting thing, Miles, is that it seems this move is successful for Joey, and something that I would want to say Chance is looking to emulate going into this new phase in his career after so much after so much success, and then having a bad reception of his last couple of albums. It looks like Joey is setting the line of what it looks like to have your old work be loved, and then dropping something that is in that pays homage, not homage, but like it speaks towards your core fans, but still is progressive in its content and in its sound. Because this is very progressive, very progressive, mature music. You know, he's our age, so a lot of the things that he says I relate to. Who else would you put around him as his contemporaries?
Yeah, I mean, I think this album puts him in that conversation with Reason and Boogie and Isaiah Rashad in terms of he's not far from that mantle. I agree with you that Chance is knocking at that door, trying maybe even a little bit harder for that distinguished art side with A Bar About a Bar and his most recent releases and even the artwork that he's choosing for those. But it feels organic from Joey. It feels effortless. It feels like not like 1999 in terms of that same boom bap sound, but that skill set is allowing him to make more mature music, like you said, mature in content, and also mature in sound. Man, this is like, you know, who else could have rapped on almost all of these beats is Rick Ross. And whether or not you love Rick Ross as a rapper, that's high praise in terms of beat selection. This is luxurious rap. This is great. Like he's going for timeless music, and that really shows. Um, yeah. So with that, I want to hit you with a couple rapid fire ones, like Joey Badass or Reason.
Personal preference, especially after this album, it has to go to Joey Badass. You?
I gotta say that 2000 is better than New Beginnings, but I'll still say that Reason is, yeah, personal preference. I would say there's something about Reason's straightforward delivery and his persona that I really identify with. But Joey, I'm not mad at anybody saying Joey's better. And if I had to make an objective list, I'd probably put Joey above him. Just so, and that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot.
What you said about Joey's music coming out effortlessly, I think is the caveat that separates it. And you know, I think time in the game and being able to have gotten something that was critically acclaimed and then follow up with it is quite difficult because you could have named this anything else and we could have still related it somewhat like this sounds like 1999, what many consider your best. But if you go, nah, take my best and I'm putting this out right next to it, and for it to still stand up, I think is something that Reason would have to accomplish first for me to be able to make that.
Bless
Excuse
you.
me, I'm allergic to unequal comparisons.
That's funny. All right, so then Joey or Boogie?
You see, what Miles is trying to do right now, ladies and gentlemen, is stoke a very deep fight that we have outside of these cameras. That's tough. That's tough, and I cannot answer that. I got one for you: Isaiah Rashad or Joey?
Isaiah, but I mean, I think there's a consistency there. I think you could put 2000 up with The House is Burning, and if you wanted to argue with me track for track, I'd argue with you, but I wouldn't be mad at you. But I think Isaiah's has there's more of a consistent three there with Sylvia Demo, Sun's Tirade, and The House is Burning. I think Joey's got a tough two. But I think what Isaiah's been able to do, and even there's something about Isaiah's creativity that in like charting his own path that puts him above Joey for me personally. For me, it would be Isaiah, Boogie, Joey, and Reason got some work to do.
Hey, I like that. I like that. We just
Wait.
highlighted the
Joey or Jid?
Joey.
Really? Easily,
Ju-
huh?
just got a lot of work. Just got a lot of work to do because
Okay.
the scope, man. There's longevity value. There's longevity value, right? Jed's Never Story could be considered. It isn't a standout per se as 1999, but it is a standout for his catalog. And since then, I think Jid has yet to be able to offer us something that is as dope as Never Story. That's a top to bottom play.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jid's next project is supposed to be the Forever Story. So you may have that. You may have that coming to you.
Ooh.
But yeah, for right now, I think Joey should really just take a victory lap, man. This is This is amazing in terms of how the time in the game. New York has gone up and down, but for him to be here in 2022 with a West Side feature, I think that's beautiful. I hope he got some champagne on him, and I'm gonna keep this in rotation for a good little minute. I'm gonna give this
Congratulations, brother.
a solid 4 out of 5. Four,
Mm.
good four. There's it's and that's high praise. 5 out of 5 is tough. It would have to push boundaries and hit me in a different way. But in terms of solid music that shows growth, this is a nice little four for me.
And I'd like to say, man, and if we're being vulnerable, something that Joey's album did to me that many albums haven't done. I got very emotional listening to this album. I got very emotional, man. I really I might have even teared up on that survivor's guilt. This is one of the things that we started this show, Miles, a few years ago, and we try to make this show happen a few times. It wasn't until the death of my cousin who took his life that we went all in, and one of the reasons for that was just because for anyone that was going through something, we wanted to create a space where people can, like, if you're going through something dark, you can have some of this positive energy that we bring, and hopefully get you up out of that place. And it's something that I think about a lot, man. I spoke to you specifically about the traumas of not being able to look at trees for half a year. I'd look at trees and get sick because that's how my cousin decided to go out, man. So listening to the story and listening to this homage that he pays to his best friend who he lost, and the feelings of it resonated a lot and was very deep, man. So hip hop for us is not just music we enjoy. It's therapy. It's got healing components to it. It's life music. It's uplifting music. It's a lot to it. So for me, I want to thank this brother for making this album. The intention behind it to help people that are going through something similar is definitely felt on my end, man. And so just wanted to say, definitely big ups to this album, 4 out of 5, man. And I look forward to the next offering that this brother has.
Just gotta let that breathe. Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate you sharing that. Appreciate you being vulnerable and powerful and open. And yeah, I just like that album touched people. I know that you connecting and sharing how it touched you is probably gonna touch people too. So always a pleasure to do this thing, man. Always a pleasure to talk about hip hop. Was excited to talk about this album with you. It was tough to not bring it up in pre-pro. Be like, yo, it's good, right? Like,
That's what this show robs us of. This show robs us of the ability to be able to talk as best friends and be like, yo, I love this music.
yo, but yes, I appreciate you telling your story because I definitely thought of all those same things. That's family to me too. So that's it gets deep. It gets really real, and that's what we here for. That's why we do this. That's what this space is because we know.
We know. We know. We know.
Yeah, man. We know people just going through it, and we know it's way too many podcasts. And so somewhere between those two truths lies this show. This is a celebration of celebrating. This is a celebration of life. This is a celebration of how good it feels to have good hip hop. Don't it feel good, Sway?
This ain't a podcast and it feels great.
True. Big show. Big show, big experience energy, right? And the podcaster is formerly known as Chestnut and Hazelnut. Listen, we hope that you have enjoyed rocking with us this Sunday, man. This is a special place. Shout out to Hassan, our producer, for holding it down on the boards. We hope that you eat something delicious, that you hug somebody you love, and you listen to some music that feels good to you. Peace, water, we gone.